President Obama's vision of an economy that grows from the middle out can only be achieved if we continue to have a dynamic and empowered labor movement in America.
Labor Secretary Duff vowing to protect collective bargaining and pledging to give unions a boost. But with cities going bust because of many pricey union contracts, could this be the right move? Rich Benjamin and Jessie Jane Duff here to clash it all out. You know, it's interesting when you see the administration and the way it's really trying to win back unions who've been critical of the health care law, saying it's hurting them. Obviously, they're trying to go back, get their friends happy, maybe make an exemption to keep the unions happy. But they are worried, Jessie. Clearly seems to me they're worried.
Well, they have every reason to worry. You know, unions have depreciated in their membership over the last 50 years from basically 30% to a little over 11%. A lot of corporations have failed with unions. Toyota has succeeded. GM is on the edge, on the brink. We've seen JetBlue succeed, but we've seen Pan Am go in the tank. When we start having the government engage with labor, it becomes very concerning. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce doesn't feel that he's invited them to the table, and we now are being stifled with more regulations that prevent employers from wanting to be able to hire.
All right, you've heard that argument before, Rich. You've heard that argument that, you know, for an administration fast losing friends, you want to keep this relationship tight.
Well, as far as union membership going down, partly that's because so many people don't have jobs. So obviously union membership is down. But the bigger point is what the president does with the economy going forward. And unions are a crucial part of that because we need consumers. We need people earning money, spending money with good jobs. And unions historically have been a good part of that. And so I think Secretary Perez is right to lay down that gauntlet and to say moving forward, unions will be part of our plan.
I don't know. I wonder now, given the fact that unions are wanting an exemption from something that they pushed hard for, I really think, Jessie, they've exposed themselves to be hypocrites. And their members can rightly say, I'm paying dues for you guys to be on top of this stuff. You were pushing this stuff. You were pushing this law. And now you're telling us you clearly didn't either read the law, appreciate how the impact of the law, and I don't really like that.
You know, when your costs start going up because of Obamacare, the unions are now backpedaling because they realize they can't sustain a strong business model, and people are dropping under a 30-hour work week just to maintain this. So how is this helping the workers? And to argue that union membership is down because of the economy, that's a false argument. The membership has been dropping over the last 50 years. So it's a steady decrease. There are 27 states right now that require, their labor laws require you to join a union. What happened to free choice? What happened to the opportunity for the worker to work where they want? Because when you have collective bargaining, what many people don't understand is it's saying you're all the same. We are now like an element of a communism society where you're all the same. Now your top talent can't rise to the top.
Nobody's advocating communism. One of the reasons union membership is down is because there has been an assault on union membership and on people's right to bargain.
As there should be.
As you saw in Wisconsin. So that's part of the reason union membership is gone. As there should be. And that's the result of that is a hollowed out middle class where we have in many instances left this economy to CEOs to run as they wish. And now we have some nice pushback. By the way, I should point out our friend
you're not blaming it on the
Reagan,
CEOs, right? I mean, you could just freely say government overreach. You could talk about a lot of overreach, right?
Ronald Reagan was the president of the Screen Actors Guild, which belongs to the AFL-CIO.
Well,
surely
thank you for bringing
tell
up 60 years ago.
Well, it matters now because the Screen Actors Guild is still live and lively now in terms of protecting people's hours, protecting people's
We can go
wages.
back and forth on this about, you know, who would have said what and then and now, but I do want to focus on an anniversary that's coming up, not obviously 9/11, but this one on Sunday, 5 years since the financial meltdown. And yet the government is selling back another $800 million in GM stock. Taxpayers still $14 billion in the hole. Jessie, proof to you that bailouts don't work, because you could flip it around and say, well, the banks and financial institutions, they've given all their money back, most of them. GM has returned a good deal of money to the taxpayers. So the trend is the friend or not.
Well, it's not a very positive thing when we go back and look at the research that demonstrates now that some of the negotiations had actually increased some of the benefits and perks and pensions for Delphi, which is part of the used to be part of GM, and somehow they got sucked into this, and they have an increased pension of it.
Rich, what do you make of that it's not what it's panned out to be?
It's not panned out what it's be, because when you look at the outcome of it, we have $14 billion still yet to be paid back.
I know that. I understand. I just want Rich to respond to that. $14 billion still left to be paid back. Even when it is paid back, it's going to be paid back under the offering price. So taxpayers, unless something miraculous happens to the stock, are going to lose money.
The stock price is just one element of that, and we should recoup that money, of course. But the bigger element is the jobs that were gained, the productivity that was gained, the fact that the auto industry was rescued. Can you imagine the landscape of the Ohio or Iowa or Michigan had Obama not done that? We'd have this notion that, oh, let Detroit fail. And so it's true, the stock has yet to be gained back. But the broader
think of what you
investment
just
of
said.
jobs,
think about what you just said, my friend. I mean, you said, or Detroit will fail. Well, Detroit is in bankruptcy now, and that's after a huge auto bailout.
No, I meant the industry.
I understand.
I don't mean the
but I
city.
understand what you're saying. But that's sort of the folly of the argument, right? That in rescuing jobs to prevent some sort of financial Armageddon, you still leave the city, that's the center of that, in complete bankruptcy.
Oh, absolutely not. There are factories in Tennessee, there are factories all over America, and that's partly
and
the
those
source,
factories were not affected. Those are foreign factories of foreign players who do business here that are doing quite well.
Those are auto factories, but the broader business of how autos are sold in this country, around the country, it's not just simply Detroit the city. So I didn't mean to imply that saving GM would save Detroit the city.
Well, I think if we were saying at the time we were rescuing the auto companies, that in just a matter of a few short years, Detroit would go bankrupt, I think people would have said that let's just hold off giving them money. But we don't know. Guys, I want to thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Neil.